I'm Sally Goodwin. Recently changed my name, didn't I? But didn't change me. So Sally Goodwin, Private Midwifery Services. So I work as a private stroke independent midwife. And I'm also a tongue-tie practitioner, a mindful birth coach, infant feeding specialist. I do some acupuncture for pregnancy and women's health, and I'm a nana.
Oh, yes, I know. That's thank you for that roundup. I mean, you're a very, very busy lady. But I know you love all of those things that you've just listed.
Yeah,
I know you love
I
doing
am
them.
definitely not as busy as I once was. I've got a really good work-life balance now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
So focusing on the private midwife side of things and how it all works basically, because I know that there's a lot of kind of mystery sometimes around.
Yeah. So you can, if you were to join the organisation called Private Midwives, Private Midwives Limited, and they have got it's a company that's based in Runcorn in Cheshire, and then there's midwives across the UK and the Republic of Ireland, and a lot there's you can work for them as a tongue-tie practitioner as well, and there's sort of 3 ways that you can do it. So you can work as a salaried midwife, but work privately, which is what I have done in the past. You can work on a bank basis when you work with them, or you can work how I'm working now, which is like on an indirect scheme where you sort of not directly employed by them, but you're not self-employed like a independent midwife. So yeah, now that doesn't look any different for anyone who's wanting to know about arranging to see or have have a private midwife or an independent midwife involved in their care or at some stage of their journey. That's kind of the politics and the organisation, how it's kind of worked out for midwives and tongue-tie practitioners and maternity support workers, but we're exactly the same in the service that is offered to clients.
No, that's really helpful, because there is a bit of I suppose uncertainty as to if you're not having an NHS midwife, are private midwives insured, are they registered?
Absolutely right. Yeah, absolutely that. And so I've had a kind of a range of clients over the years, and obviously I did manage a number of midwives who all obviously fed back about their clients, and so I know from the organisation, from being in that leadership team, that some clients choose to still run their NHS care alongside. Some people like having both involved, and they just really want to book a private or an independent midwife so that they've got someone to be that constant all the way through, because they feel like they've seen lots of different midwives. Other clients might be like, no, I absolutely don't, I've got a private midwife, I don't want to go in the NHS, which is also absolutely fine. And then some people kind of do a little bit of the picking of the two. So it depends when they kind of come on board in their pregnancy. I guess it's a little bit like that with some people who choose to maybe have a doula supporting them, and sometimes they attend all of it and within the NHS, and then the doula would go with them to support them, which I can also do. Or sometimes they don't want to have any of that NHS care, and they just want their doula to be that constant. Does that make sense?
It does, and that's the question I had actually, is how and I know the answer to this, but it'd be good for you to elaborate on what happens if you do have a doula and then you decide you're having a private midwife as well.
So lots of our midwives do, a lot of their clients do have a doula as well. So we're just all, whatever the client needs or whatever they think that they want, then it's up to them what they have, really. Sometimes takes a little bit of negotiating if it's someone who's planning to birth in hospital, because as you know, there's sometimes some real restrictions around how many people can attend with someone, so there's sometimes that requires a bit of antenatal planning. But equally, you know, usually a kind, sort of straightforward, fact-based email to the head midwifery or a consultant midwife or something like that, usually things can be overcome. Of course, we wouldn't want someone to have like 7 people in the room, because that wouldn't necessarily be good for them.
Yeah.
But you know, if somebody's, you know, got a really good friendship with their doula, and then they're booking their private midwife further down the line, then we just need to negotiate that with, you know, that's important to that family, that they have both those people in their birth room.
And what about if someone is thinking, they're right at the beginning, like early on in the pregnancy, and they're thinking, do I have a doula or a midwife? Like, what should they be thinking of in terms of the differences, and, you know, if they wanted to have them together, or they can only really afford one or the other?
Yeah. So I think sometimes I've had clients where we've sort of had like a real conversation about that, and sometimes in that initial consultation I can already tell by some of the things that they're asking, or some of the things that are important to them. So more around sort of like you know, like almost, I don't want to call it babysitting, because I know it's not like that, but almost like some of those more practical things that they want in the home in that early postnatal period. Or maybe sometimes people might have a partner who works overseas, or works away. Or even we have international clients who don't have a support group or a network close, they don't have any friends in the area. And so sometimes they're actually, you know, really happy with what they're going to receive from as regards maternity care, so for the clinical care, but they really would benefit from having a doula, in my opinion. And then sometimes we have people who've got an amazing support network around them, but they really don't want to be seeing, you know, a lot of different midwives. They really don't want that. So then you think, I know how this fits now. But equally, I've just very occasionally we might have it where I can think of an example where it doesn't happen as much now, but certainly during COVID, where people would say, well, I sort of want to book you, but I only want to book you for the birth. And so most independent midwives, and definitely private midwives, that's not an option for us. You know, the latest, really, some people will take clients at about 36 weeks, but we absolutely know the importance of having a relationship with someone, rather than just turning up on the day that they're giving birth. I think especially if people are thinking that they're almost wanting to guarantee that they can be at home, which we know we can't guarantee that. But when home birth services are not particularly robust, so that's what they're more thinking, and they literally think, well, I don't need to meet you beforehand, because I'm fine. So that's when I might say, well, do you think you might be better having, you know, you might be better having a doula? Or I've had people who've said, like, I don't want you to do any, like, I don't want anything at all. I don't want any, I don't want you to like auscultate the fetal heart. I want you to sit in another room when I'm in labour, or sit outside in your car. And that's when I would be saying to them, it's not a midwife that you're looking for. It's definitely a doula that you're potentially needing to walk that path with you, to navigate that journey with you. Usually, and like I say, some people do have to, because I know there's Laura, who's up with the Mindful Birth group, who's been at a lot of births with a really lovely colleague of mine, Angie, down in Sussex. So, you know, that this does happen, and you know, we do tend to know who the doulas in our area, and we tend to kind of link up and network a little bit like that. But yes, sometimes if it is that, where they're just really like thinking, I'm not really sure what it is I need, and sometimes I really don't know, like I can't really quite decide, and I kind of like it when I get the same midwife, but then if I don't, and so it's that sort of thing. We just have a conversation antenatally, and like I say, if towards the end of the pregnancy someone's starting to say that they almost don't want a midwife there, but they just want someone sat in the car just in case, that's when I'd be saying, I don't think this is going to work for us. Like, I don't think I'm what you're looking for.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And I think it's having that conversation with someone rather than trying to just decide from like Google or other people's experiences, because it's so individual, isn't it?
Yeah, because we know, don't we, that although we are all trained in a very similar way, some midwives, you know, will have a certain philosophy, won't they, or a certain way of that won't be everybody's style. Not everybody will like that. And the same, you know, with doulas. You know, some people will have that where you'll feel more aligned with some clients than others.
Yes, definitely. So important to talk to people to see how you feel.
Yeah,
because it's such an intimate time in your life that you're going to have someone in your space, and whether that's another
it kind of still surprises me that in 2025 I still regularly meet people who say, oh, I didn't know like private midwifery was a thing, or independent midwifery was a thing, and also that people are like, what's a doula?
Yes, absolutely.
Like, we still hear it, don't we?
Yeah, it's the story of our lives, really. But it's, you know, we've got to keep talking about it. And I think it's such an incredible service for people to know exists, and then, you know, they can find out if it's right for them.
Absolutely.
And you can have a kind of a free, no obligation chat, can't you?
1,000,000%. Yeah, you can. Definitely.
And how would someone go about booking that? Would that be centrally through the Private Midwives website?
Yeah. Sometimes midwives who work with us have got you know, they'll have their websites from the area, so they might find them in that way.
Yes.
Or they could, if they couldn't seem to find a midwife in their area, they would contact Private Midwives directly. There's WhatsApp, contact forms, emails, you know, obviously head office with phone numbers, lots of different WhatsApp. You can do all sorts of things to get in touch, but that's how it would be done, because in head office they're all day every day kind of working out the logistics of what midwife is in that area, and you know how far away they are and that sort of thing. So it's someone who's literally just like found themselves in an area. I was speaking to someone a couple of days ago who is just talking about whether she's going to book some care with me, and she lived in London until she was 38 weeks with her first baby, and then moved to Sheffield at 39 weeks. And was talking about how like disappointed she was, how things went, and I was just thinking, crikey, that was like, it's hard, isn't it? Because you just, I think there's sometimes a perception, definitely by the general public, that every maternity services works in a very similar way, but they just don't.
No, any of these public services, schools, hospitals, anywhere, everyone's got their own way. And so, having someone to guide you and support you through that, it's a bit like being a tour guide, isn't it? You've got someone who just knows how to navigate that system.
It's like playing 4D chess, if I'm honest. That's what it's like.
Yeah, not even 3D, 4D.
It's so baffling.
Yeah, it is. And we laugh, but it can be a real shock to the system. And it's not that I want to sort of scare anyone about that, but I think it's really important. We have the responsibility to talk about it in the reality as well.
Absolutely right. I mean, I know that I've kind of got my sort of vision and my mission that's much bigger than what I'm sort of doing on a daily basis. But I just feel I meet a lot of clients who certainly have a history of not a positive experience of their last birth or their last pregnancy or their last breastfeeding journey or infant feeding journey. There'll be something within that, which is why they've then chose to book someone private, or someone, you know, who they think is just slightly removed from that system. My vision would be that people aren't being traumatized in the first place, that they're you know, that they're aware of as much earlier. So like, you know, if we can sort of get the first journey right, it's such a massive impact on society, isn't it, and the world at large, if we could do that. And I know that that's something that you're really keen on, you know, equipping people with as well. But it's just we just need to keep raising awareness and keep shouting, and I mean, certainly in my area, and I know a lot of other midwives who feel the same. Sometimes you'll meet clients and they think that you're going to be very like, the NHS is rubbish, private is best, and it is absolutely nothing like that, because all of us who are midwives have trained in the NHS, and I worked in the NHS for years and years. I mean, I do believe it gives you that insight, so that you understand that there is a bit of a you kind of do need a certain password or a certain code to understand what's happening in each unit. But other than that, I see my job as absolutely forging those relationships. Like, I'm sure you feel the same as a doula. Like when when we're all aligned, you know, whether you're supporting someone who's got quite a complex needs or whatever, the only person who benefits in that situation is the family, like always. It's just hard sometimes because it can be very frustrating. I think sometimes people are nervous of something that's different.
Yes. And it isn't the norm, is it, to hire private help for your birth?
Yeah.
And I think probably from my feedback that I hear, it's a lot of the time it's cost. So should we talk about, you know, how
absolutely.
and
So
how people...
all the prices are on the website. I did try to rehearse this before I came on.
Don't worry.
It's going to be within this sort of remit, but I think platinum package is around 8,000, gold package around 7. Silver, sorry, I should say that platinum is sort of like everything really, from very early in pregnancy until 6 weeks postnatal and including the birth.
So could technically that mean someone doesn't have to go to a hospital or GP surgery at any point?
Absolutely, yes. So lots of my clients do exactly that. They don't they don't have to do anything like log on to a system or anything at all. It's just all done through, and so bloods and scans and everything are all included in that platinum package. If they're booking someone who is sort of getting their insurance through Private Midwives but not directly employed by them, they might have slightly different names, but this is the organisation's packages I'm trying to explain to you. So platinum, like I say, 8, and that includes everything. Gold, again, can be from early pregnancy, but you would have to pay extra for booking bloods. I can't remember if any scans are included, potentially not. They can all be arranged as add-ons, but that's around 7, but again, can be from any time in pregnancy. Silver is usually from around 24 weeks in pregnancy, and 2 weeks postnatal care. And then right down to bronze, which is the lowest package that we would take for someone who's wanting to birth at home. And that's from 34 weeks with a week's postnatal care. And that's around 5, I think. So yeah, that's really helpful. And there's like payment plans. They brought something new in, I think about 3 months ago, where it's almost like a loan, I guess, but it's done through a separate organisation because it's definitely finances that is going to be stopping, you know, a lot of people, definitely, you know, with like the unsettled sort of feeling with the universe, isn't it, with the economy and things like that. So people really are going to be, you know, worried about that expenditure. But yeah, there's payment plans, and then there's also like a loan.
And it's an interest free
over a longer period of time, because the payment plans that we've had previously that are still available if people want them, but that needs to be paid by the time you're kind of getting to term. Whereas I think with the loan, it could be extended to 2 years. Which I think it's through,
I don't know if it is through Klarna, but it's a company like that, isn't it?
It's something very similar to that. Yes, it is. Yeah.
So it would pay Private Midwives, but you still have the payment to pay back to them.
Quite a thing that we've done as an organisation, but really positively received.
It's a fantastic way to do it. And when you say postnatal care in those packages, that includes for baby and person is given birth, doesn't it?
So if it's if you're having a week's, well, whatever you're having, basically, if your baby's born at home, we visit 4 times in that first week. So it's usually day 1, 2, 3, and day 5, and then 2 visits the following week in week 2, and then a visit a week for the however many weeks that you have it. People can kind of add on, make things more bespoke. If it's bronze, it's like that. It's 4 visits. So it's day 1, 2, 3, and 5. Occasionally, if I've got clients who've had babies before and, you know, everything's okay, they've not got any concerns with their baby's weight or anything, then they might say, can I have day 1, 3, 5, and 7? Something a bit more like that. But for other, you know, we do like an intensive breastfeeding package, and that's a visit every day for 7 days. And, you know, the visits can be up to 2 hours easily. So yeah, and we do everything that you would do as an NHS midwife. So I am trained to do the newborn examination. Not everyone is, but we will source someone within the area. If the midwife that someone's got isn't NIPE trained, you won't need to go in for it. We'll source it within the organisation. So obviously newborn blood spot test, all the weighing of baby, all the things with mum, everything. And for myself, if I book someone who doesn't want to go through the NHS at all, but maybe has some complexities or something that, maybe you would recommend that they'd have a conversation, a consultation with an obstetrician, I can always recommend that. I can never force anyone to go, but I can just, I can refer the same as an NHS midwife can refer.
Yeah, no, it's such an incredible service. And like you say, it's hard for maybe first-time pregnancies to know how incredible that is. But it is well worth looking into. And we are...
Sorry, Em. If your baby's born in hospital, you get 3 visits in that first week. Just because usually quite often people haven't gone home until day 1.
Yes,
so we kind of mix it up in that respect, but I know we have certainly the organisation certainly do occasionally, if we have someone who just really does need, like if it's an international client and they've moved into the country at 35, 36 weeks, whatever, then there are sometimes negotiations around that, but we definitely don't really only cover being at a birth. Not usually.
Yeah, it's really hard to provide that level of care and support, isn't it? And
it's because we've got such great outcomes and our statistics are so amazing. You just don't want to dilute that model, really, because it's although you kind of want to help as many people as you can, once you start to shave stuff off, we don't really know what effect that's having on the outcomes, do we?
No, and you want to do the best for the families.
That relationship is what gets the great outcomes, don't we? We know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in terms of the additional services by Private Midwives, we've actually got the birth debriefs, for example, available by our crowdfunding campaign. So really grateful to Private Midwives for donating 3 Private Midwife debriefs. So could you just take us through what that would be for someone?
Yeah, so it's have you heard of the birth rewind, the 3-step rewind? So there's a number of us who were trained in that with Mark Harris. I mean, some of our midwives had already done some extra trauma training and various things alongside, but that's something that was done and then accredited with Mark Harris, and then they would ring head office again unless they contact a local midwife who's kind of got that on their website, and it's arranged through the organisation. It can be done on Zoom if that's where someone wants to do it. There's not someone within their locality, and so it is those 3 sessions. I don't hugely know what price it is, I do apologize, but it definitely, there's a whole section on it on the website that would tell people about that, and yeah, it's being really well received.
No, that's brilliant. And so that's the 3-step rewind, and there's also the debrief, isn't there? So if someone's had a difficult birth experience, you can debrief that with a private midwife, and I believe that's £50 or £100.
That's right. So you're absolutely right. And I mean, you can obviously, if you had I don't know, like often when I meet clients, they almost need a debrief from last time, which is not great when you're now pregnant, but equally it's something that we can contact the hospital, and if it was an NHS birth, then we can request notes. Obviously, if the baby was born in a different country, that is slightly more difficult, but we have managed to do it. And we kind of request notes and sit down with someone, and because often some units have an excellent debrief service, but as a generalized, it's often like a 10-minute conversation of someone, just, or dare I say that people often feel really gaslighted.
Yeah, it's not necessarily very productive.
What often people want is to fill those gaps in. you know, just for someone to actually be going through the notes and explaining what some of the language means and why why A might have led to B. But yeah, like what you're talking about with the debriefs, I think it will not necessarily be as extensive as the 3-step rewind, but it will be with people who've had training within that.
No, that's fantastic. Thank you for explaining that. As I said, we've got 3 available through the crowdfunder, which I will put under this video as well. But it's such a brilliant opportunity to start that healing process. You can go into the next birth feeling much more, you know, refreshed and able and confident.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right, Sally. Well, these chats always go so quickly with you because there's just so much to pack in. But we'll leave it there because we try and keep them under half an hour, so you know, on a but I really appreciate your time, and
so do I.
Put your links and the Private Midwife links under the video.
Yeah, absolutely. And if any other questions come in or anything, obviously you all know about the Ask the Midwife.
Yes, of course.
They can come into there and just I forgot to say that on my little credentials, didn't I?
It's another hat you wear. So Sally is one of our resident midwives in Pregna Hub. So if you're asking a midwife a question, you'll either have Sally or Rhonda replying. So yeah, that's probably really nice for people to put a face to a name as well.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, it's lovely.
Thanks, Sally. Enjoy the rest of your day.
And you, love. Bye.
Bye.